So part of saving classic cars is saving old engines or getting old engines to run. And every self-respecting car enthusiast has a motor that's came out of a project or to go in a project that's just sitting in the shed. But when it comes to having spare motors, I'm an overachiever. I've got plenty. I suppose if I saw something cheap that looked like it could be handy for a project down the track, I'd just grab it. But this one's the cheapest of them all. This one was free. I mean, no money changed hands type of free. And thank you, Greg. You know who you are. Greg had a HR Holden project, decided to keep the 6-cylinder in the car, and this was sitting in the corner of his shed. He messaged me and said, can you make use of it? I'm like, a free 327? Do you want me to think about it? Yep, I can make use of that. Yep, I can. So in this episode, we're going to see how little or how much it takes to add to this free 327 to make it a usable motor for a project coming up. Let's have a look. It's obviously had a bit of a checkered past with the different coloured sump, different coloured block and heads, and then the covers. It does have a manifold with it, but it had been removed, so we've got a fair bit of dust and dirt and whatever else to contend with. But it's just your usual laying around the shed type of small block Chevy. One good thing, it's still got plugs in it. However, you can see the amount of crap that's in the cylinder, but we'll get to that. That's no big deal. We'll figure out how we can clean this up a bit. Slowly but surely, we'll get him to work. It's got a couple of good bits on it. The double hump heads. Why they're called a double hump is clearly two double hump fuelie heads. They're actually a fairly big port factory GM head, so they're not a bad set of heads for this, I'm going to say, stock 327. But we'll get into how do you measure cams and all the rest of it to see if it's stock. Hopefully we'll hear it and we'll know if it's stock. That's how I know exactly it's a 327. It's obviously been running an electric fuel pump at some stage. She's got the mechanical one blocked off. And because I have had this one a few months, I've actually ordered a few bits for it, like a flex plate, gaskets, things like that. But we'll see what it needs. So first thing your head tells you to do is turn it over, but no, I actually don't want to do that. With the ports open, there's probably a lot of debris as you see around the valves and things like that. If I start winding it over, and if it does turn over, everything falls into the cylinder as valves open and close and all the rest of it, and you're just dragging your dirt up and down the cylinder. So I'm actually going to do the complete opposite and clean a heap of these gasket surfaces and make it worse, then we'll clean it up. That might seem somewhat optimistic to start cleaning gasket surfaces before you even know if it rotates, but I don't want to put junk into it to score bores and all the rest of it if it has been just switched off and left. It has got a lot of crap in here though, and I'm starting to see a couple of little issues. There's a depressed lifter. That one was obviously, I guess we'll figure that out. Looks like we're relashing valves after I maybe pull that lifter and bleed it up, but we'll get to it one step at a time. Let's get all these surfaces done. The first thing I'm probably going to do is order a set of rocker covers. I don't know if I'd trust them with all that light surface rust. Bit of heat, bit of vibration, and all that starts falling away. Like, I have got another one in here. Is this one the same? I was saying I have got another small block here. That's the same. So we'll have a look. If need be, I can always pinch these ones. I'll see what they look inside and then just order a set. That way I'm not waiting. I'll chuck these on that motor. Well, then again, that's my backup. If this one rod knocks or has no oil pressure, then we're going to move on to that one. Yep, as I say, an overachiever when it comes to having motors. But it might come in handy if I can steal those rocker covers and not have to wait silicon on rocker cover gaskets. I'll get a scraper, get this gasket off. This will probably be a little bit slow and tedious, but worth it. I don't want to clean it up and then filthy it up again when I go to get all these off. See all that crap that's left behind. See all that crap that's going to drop into the motor. I could stuff rags and stuff in there, which I might actually do that. I'll chuck a rag, just minimise what I put in there. There we go. It's bad enough as is without me making it worse, I suppose, but I'll get these gaskets off. And now I'm just going to wire wheel all the gasket remnants away. I may as well make a mess now. I've got to clean it, so I may as well get this done now. But you guys that love your numbers, they're the last 3 digits, 461. That's a pretty common double hump fuelie part number. Yep, matching heads, that's good. And I cleaned off that guy. You guys that love your cast numbers and knowing what we're dealing with, 3858180. I think it was 67, 68, something like that. 2-bolt main, 327. So I'm pretty much done making a mess. That one wasn't even tight. I'm going to knock these plugs out. Oh, don't break me plug. Garbage. Wasn't going to reuse it anyway, I'm just saying. It didn't look great. It doesn't look horrendous last time it ran. I'm glad there's no real evidence of rust and moisture. I don't know why I'm wearing safety glasses taking plugs out in case they jump out at me. No, I'm going to hit it with compressed air. As soon as we get these plugs out, I'm going to smash it with compressed air. Like, I mean, turn it up to 11 type of compressed air before you roll it over. Because like we said, if there's shit in the ports now, don't roll it over because it drops in the cylinders. We'll just blow everything out. These ones weren't even tight either. I don't know whether that excites me or not. Has somebody loosened them and put something down the cylinder? Or were we diagnosing issues? They look fine. Compressed air. Like I said, crank it up to 11 and just blow everything out. The more you can blow out of here, the less you've got to worry about getting in the sump. In the ports, ready? Because the valve's shut, it's just going to eject the air back out. And just when you think you're done, go over it again. Just keep going. The more you clean up now, the less we're going to try and flush out. So sometimes you're just stirring it round too, so it's going back over where you've already been. So go around it 3 or 4 times. All right. So I've come across a few lifters that are depressed. They're very depressing. This is what a non-collapse lifter should look like. If I move this rocker like that, see how it pops back up? That one there. Well, this guy, I'd say, has had weight on him, like that one. That's probably another one that'll do it, but it's got load on that one. And that one over there, wasn't it? Yeah, there as well. So we might have a few lifters. There's another one that's under load that we might have to remove and just get them to pop that plunger up. Either that or we'll wind some oil pressure through it and hopefully they'll pop up themselves, but we'll get to that. I'll keep blowing out. We're not doing too bad. It's a lot cleaner than it was. You see up around all the rockers, there's barely any crap there at all now. I just got to get some more out of the valley. Just keep going around it with air. So they're all blown off as best I can. We're now going to put a flex plate on him so that I can start to try and turn it over, because all our cylinders are about as cleaned out as they can get. And this isn't an expensive flex plate. I think about 110 bucks. Do you want me to go through costs? Bear in mind, you American guys, this is all going to be Australian dollars. 100 odd bucks is like, what, 11 cents over there or something, isn't it? I won't bother talking these yet because I'll probably take him back off if we're going to, if it's going to run. And I guess what I have doubts is, I often find cars complete, you know, with motors in them. Those ones you could just go, well, they were parked and switched off and you can get them running. A lot of motors, why are they out? Like, why was this out of a car? Was it blowing smoke? Was it big end knocking? Anyway, going back to what I was saying, if it does want to run, then I'm probably going to pull it apart, put a new sump gasket on it, paint the whole thing, but don't get ahead of yourself. We could be in for some pretty disappointing news. But I have plan B. Talked. Putting a lot of faith. Oh, that just rolled. Putting a lot of faith in that little old chain there, aren't I? Yeah, look. Well, that answers that question. So all the cylinders cleaned out. I'll just give him a little bit of, and we'll just do our valve stem seals as well, just so we're not ripping the stem seals out of them. Just so we're not ripping stem seals the minute we roll it. Stem seals, the little rubber seal that goes around the actual valve. It sort of stops it stops a lot of oil going down the valve guides. If they're worn out, you can tell because you'll get smoke when you're off throttle and when it's been sitting for a while. Maybe we'll go into that later on when I find out they're buggered and we've got to change them. Just put a little bit around those lifters as well, just so if there is a little bit of surface rust on them, like, no, I can't really see one, but just say the top of that one, just when it's going down, it's just not going to grab and score and scratch. And she's rolling over. Can hear him rolling nice. Oh, one lift. Oh no, was that the lifter? No, that was the lifter. I got excited. I thought my sketchy lifter popped up, but it didn't. I'll see when it comes up. There's one. Let's see if he goes back down. Nope, did nothing. Righto, so we're turning over. I think I'll now set it up on a stand and we'll try to get a starter on it and spin it at speed. Once we spin it at speed, we can try to get oil pressure. Let's do that. I'll get it on a stand. Before I put it on the stand, I might just knock the oil out of it if it's got any in it, of course. That would be one thing. And take this filter off as well. Oh, jeez. This could shatter my hopes and dreams. Okay, so it's got oil, but that is potentially the worst oil I've ever seen. It was very, very shitty as it started to come out. You can actually see lumps coming out. Now that could just be crap that I've blown down from the top, sitting in the oil, bits of gasket and whatever. And that's probably a good thing, because if there was nothing in it, it'd just be sitting in the bottom of the pan, at least with some oil in it. The gasket would have sat on top of the oil and now it's coming out with it. So I'm going to say that's a positive thing, all right? I'm trying to be positive here. But that's horrendous oil. I won't overthink it. Just going to try and roll it over and get more out. That's bloody terrible, that. Confidence level low. Just rigged me up a bit of a ratchet strap there just to roll that motor over and to get a bit more of that terrible, terrible oil out. And we'll knock this filter off while I'm going. That's been sitting for a long time. I don't know how long, but a long time. I just thought of another thing I should have bought, and that's the early style oil filter so you can get the later model spin on. There's a bolt in the bottom of that guy. I haven't ordered one of them, and I want to put the later model cartridge on it. So, okay, I think I'm going to have to do a list. Rocker covers, even if I use those other ones, I need to replace them. What was the other thing? But anyway, what I'm thinking right now is an oil filter adapter. See, that's the really old fella with a bolt in the bottom of it. I want to change it to the spin-on cartridge, but there's an adapter that you have to get. I better do a list. Okay, so the other motor has an adapter on it. I will still write a list, but the other motor's got an adapter, so worst case scenario is I swap it off the other motor. Randomly, it's not a Chevy oil filter, it's a Z9, which is predominantly a Ford filter. And then there's that. Well, that escalated. Righto, time to move it and clean up. Righto, so that cleaning fiasco is kind of out of the way, and let's move on. The list goes rocker covers, which I think I'll steal off that motor and then just buy ones for it later. Oil filter adapter, same scenario, and a Z9 filter. Why that adapter's a Z9, don't know. Really common filter, maybe that. Let's get it on one of these. I wasn't going to pull the sump, but the condition of that oil, I feel I have no choice. Pull the sump, get it on that, pull the sump, maybe check a bearing. Again, wasn't going to do it, I was going to wing it. But at least if I check one bearing, I'll be able to see, has it had a rod failure? Because you don't generally have to check them all. If it's had a rod failure, there'll be metal and scores through everything. Yes, so let's stop talking, let's do that. On that stand, sump off, flip it over, check it out, sump back on, and stop talking. Having it on this is just going to make it easy to get to the sump. I can take the sump off, hold the shit in it, and then flip the motor when I'm putting the new gaskets back on, assuming everything else is good. Never know, it might be a good thing. I wasn't going to bother pulling this sump, but it might be a blessing. If I pull the sump and it's got bearings everywhere, at least I won't waste any more money on it. Or it might give me a lot of confidence to throw a bit of money at it. Either way, I wasn't going to do it. That's my point. I wasn't going to. I was going to shortcut it. I sort of feel like I should be going back to the same dirty spot, because when this sump comes off and drops more oil everywhere, if there's any left in it, I won't feel so bad. What's with the white? Is she a bit of a street machine? And the green, I might add. I tend to think, and a lot of you Chevy guys, Australian Chevy guys, are already all over what that sump's for, and yes, that is what it's going in. That's supposed to be bolted to there, correct me if I'm wrong, but oh no, they're not. They have an extended main bolt, don't they? And then you bolt that to that. Well, it's not on there, so we'll ignore it. That's what I'm finding. And somebody's made their own little windage tray in the bottom of that too. So she was a bit of a rever, maybe. Or maybe this sump came off something they used to give a bit of a flogging to, but I'll get this cleaned out and we'll see. Turn her over and have a look. Look at the bottoms of all these rods. They've all been ground on. She's definitely got numbers stamped in, so it's been apart. That ain't factory. That one especially. They've been balanced. I'll see if I can put a part number on that bottom of that piston. Let's see if we can get something. Before I worry about part numbers or anything, I don't know if you can see that, but look at the crosshatch in that bore. Can you see that? Couple little verticals on this side though. And from what I can see, the cam doesn't look worn out. I can't actually roll it over now because everything's so close there, it's sort of touching. I don't need to. If I just pop one of these mains, I'll pick the easiest one to get at. It's probably that guy there. But I've got to say, that actually looks really clean. A lot better than the oil indicated it was going to be, that's for certain. But I'll see if I can find a part number on the bottom of the pistons. What's that say? AP, it's upside down of course, but it says AP 013-99. Somebody knew what they were doing. They've welded the pickup to the pump. That's a thing. I've actually had that happen on a big block. What actually happens if you've got a decent sized cam and the vibration, it vibrates itself out. I had that on a big block Chevy. It actually fell out. Didn't end well. Didn't blow it up, but it didn't end well. Did I mention I wasn't going to do this? Ready? You look first. I actually didn't want to look, but I've got to be honest, there is a couple of little lines in it there, but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Guess what? Back on you go. Confidence. It's not brilliant, don't get me wrong. But it hasn't had a ton of metal go through it. So I'm just going to wing it. Any cam lobes I can see don't look tortured, so we're going to clean this gasket surface up. We're going to put the new gasket on the sump and move on. The other reason this is now getting further than I wanted to go is timing cover seals the bottom of the sump. So I'm going to pull the timing cover, just check the chain while I'm here, probably put a seal in the front of it, because that's the worst one. If that leaks around my balancer, it'll be in the car. I don't want it to leak around the balancer, especially when it's in the car. So if we do that now, famous last words, isn't it? I'll just do this, then I'll just do that. That's how projects become massive. That's how little jobs get big. And you just do one thing, leads to another thing, leads to all the things. You know what I really want to do? I want to pull the gear off that cam, see if it's got an aftermarket cam in it, but I'm not going to. Why? Because I'm already behind. I need to clean up these gaskets and get on with it. Again, just more cleaning up gaskets. I'm just trying to keep everything out of the motor, but I guess we can still, you know, blow it out again. Just be nice if I didn't have to. Just looking at those pistons, I'd say they're a dead stock cast piston. They don't look too bad, but they don't look anything racy. From this angle anyway. What did I say? AP 013-99. Remind me of that because I'll look it up later. I don't care what's in it as long as it runs, but sometimes it's interesting to know. The crosshatch was good. I did like seeing that. That made me happy. The sump cleaned up good. So that, I guess, but the sump cleaned up really good, except for the fact it's green. I'll show you in a minute. That's obviously a little bit bent, but I don't want to move that until I get the balancer in place. Then I'll bend it back to where it's supposed to be. You do need a good dab of silicone in the corners where your rubber meets your gasket. Start that again, where your rubber meets your cork gasket, because they're two-piece. They're rubber timing case seal and then cork around here. Chance of this leaking? High. Confidence out the window. Silicone is just one of those ones that just gets everywhere, even when you're trying your best. But I've got all those bolts in. I'm just going to start to screw them down from the center moving out. I think that's the go anyway. That's what I'm doing, alright? That's just what I'm doing. And these cork gaskets don't like a lot of pressure. Right now I'm losing daylight, so I need to get this flipped over inside and down on a cradle. She heavy. Every time I fiddle with that rocker and go, oh, is that righted itself? No, it's the one next to it, Michael. It's the one next to it. That one's still shit house and that one's still shit house. Probably lucky I've only got the two, really. Alright, let's go. I want to set it in one of these little cradles so I can actually add a starter to it. Try and wind it and get some oil pressure. These just bolt on. These little frames, they're not expensive either, and they just bolt on to your engine mount positions and your bell housing position, which hopefully I'll still, on the other side of course, I'll still be able to get my starter up to the ring gear so we can actually hit a starter on it and get it to spin with some sort of speed. Alright, we'll drop him down. Try not to look at any of this either. Look away, I said, don't look at it. So it's well past beer time, but I'm actually not disappointed. That was a pretty good day. I did expect to be a little further along. However, how can you be disappointed? Sump's been off, crosshatch still in it, it rotates over. We've got some lifters to work on tomorrow, but that'll be hand in hand with getting some oil pressure. We are going to get a starter motor on this and try and wind it with some speed, as in electrics and all that. And normally I'd say you wait until the red neckery you're going to do on that, but no, I've done something pretty amazing actually. But you'll have to wait till the morning. Well, how about I show you now and I'll see you in the morning. This is my almost finished engine startup stand. And so here's the idea behind my startup stand. I'm going to have water temp, oil temp, the option of fuel pump, electric or mechanical, fans on the radiator, ignition, and obviously a starter button. Most of this I stole from the HK video where we made a bit of a push button starter. And these little guys, I didn't want to make an engine startup stand that had engine mounts. See, on these stands they've got the mount, so it mounts to a specific block. This one's obviously a Chevy, but if I made Chevy mounts, it's only a Chevy startup stand, but I have others. See, same frame, same dimensions, but this one's got Ford Cleveland mounts. So in theory now, we can just pick up that motor, sit the base of that frame straight into there with any engine. The mounts are on the frame, and then I'll just strap him down to there. Radiator will be mounted on the front here, and we should be able to plumb him up. So let's stop talking and do that. So that's how we're going to fire this thing up. Which way will I need it? Irrespective. I don't just want to run it, you know, sitting on a tyre or sitting on this stand. I want to connect up the radiator and monitor its temp and its oil pressure. I want to run it properly as if it's in the car. That way we know when it goes in the car I don't have to pull it back out. And then if I need to, I can swap to a Ford or a Mopar or whatever, and the stand's just doing stand stuff and all the mounts are here. So I think I've just run into one hurdle. The legs of that, when I go to move into the cradle, into that area of the cradle, it's going to hit here, I think, and probably there as well. So we're going to have to get creative. Hang on. No, we're good. I got around it. Oh, look at that. It's like it was made for it. It was. It was actually made for it. Thank you, hoist, you can go. In actual fact, that might be handy to be out of the way today. Is that headbutt material? Oh, it is. Maybe that's not out of the way. Maybe that's headbutt material. Anyway, no doubt I'll do that later. We'll call this stage 1. It'll be starter motor. I'll get my oil filter adapter in, and I might have to get the other half to make a Mercy Dash for a Z9. I could steal one. I got one on a Ford. Yep, I'm good with that. So let's just get starter on, oil filter on. Then we'll have to do some wiring. Make it start, make it turn over. So this is the highest quality, literally cheapest starter motor I could get. But if you look here, just there, it's already hitting on the ring gear. Fortunately, they give you these shims, so we need to pull this down and put some shims in to space that motor forward slightly. So all it is you see a bolt there, and one in that center hole, and the back plate comes off. Don't mess the bolts up, because for whatever reason they're different and my Allen key won't fit. So yep, I'm using a Torx head and an Allen key. Wouldn't fit though. Look at that, totally different bolts, totally different head. That's retarded. Whatever. Always use the right tool for the job. So one shim. So that little shim goes in there, and that little shim goes on there, and then you put him back together. If you can figure out which way it went. Oop, there's my shim. If you go back in and it's still too close, they give you these little guys to sit across the top to space it down. Obviously, if the ring gear's curved, the further down you come, the further away you get. We'll see. We'll see. I might not need that one. Put it in the right hole, Michael. Maybe don't put that in the video because people will take it the wrong way. Dirty minds. And yep, I need both of them. Bloody hell. Killing me, cheapest, bestest starter ever. And yes, this one does do, is it 159 tooth and 163? Is that the two? See, it's got 4 holes. So it's for both. So I'm not just being an absolute freak and stuffing it up. So I needed more shims. And I had this one. That was actually a pretty good brand starter. Unlike that. But that's probably a direct copy of the decent one. And so I've just knocked the shim out of that one. And then I'll whack it in that. But I'll show you, this is what happens if you don't get your shimming right. Look at those teeth. I'm going to fix that by running the grinder straight through there and taking them off, and then just making sure it engages properly in whatever piece of junk I chuck it in. But anyway, it's done its job for now, so I'll put it back together and chuck it back on the shelf. So my highest quality, cheapest starter is now in with all the shims. And you can see she's still pretty tight, but it'll work. It'll work nicely actually. So I kind of failed a little bit. I made this tray for a much smaller battery. So I've got that. So we've got a battery in, we've got positive and negative cables. Negative obviously just going to the body or the frame and block, positive to the starter. So now as we need, because we're only winding this over at the minute, we're not firing it up, there's no distributors, no intake, so we just want power to the starter. So all we're going to do is rig a positive wire from the battery to the starter and just hold that down, and that'll hold our starter on and that'll wind us over. I might put it to the ignition just so I can flip it and then be doing other stuff, because we're still going to wind some oil pressure into this. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, I'll just wire a positive straight into the ignition. Ignore that says ignition. We'll just be able to flick it on, leave the starter on, burn the starter out, and then start all over again with a better starter. No, let's do it anyway. So righto, we've got terminals. I got my negative hooked up, my positive hooked up, and a hot wire from the starter. I've actually got it through the fan switch because I'm thinking I want to leave it on for now rather than just a push button, but that'll we'll sort that out later when we go to start it. And that's running back to the positive. So essentially we've now got power to the starter motor. So if I flick the switch, it'll turn over. Next thing, we've got to get oil pressure, but the oil pressure system or the oiling system on these, you need a specific tool or a distributor. I'll show you why. So Chevy distributor, right? And it's about to piss down, so I don't know if you're going to hear me in a second, but we'll keep going anyway. That section there is actually part of the oiling system. The oil pressure comes up and comes out through the distributor hole. If you've got no distributor in there and you're just trying to prime it with a flat screwdriver in this, let me show you. Righto, so that's a Chevy oil pump, right? See the groove in the top? That's obviously in the sump. Well, your distributor has that little bar in the middle there that actually fits into that pump, like that. So as the camshaft spins, turns the pump, it's all part of one system. But the oil gallery comes out of the pump up to this section here, and if you don't have a distributor in, say you're trying to wind that pump with a flat blade screwdriver or something, the oil pressure just gushes out into the void that fits into. So you have to have a distributor or a tool made from a distributor or a specific tool that closes that gap, which allows the oil pressure to come into that gap and then back out and follow along through all the rest of the engine. And if I do my absolute best to show you what I'm talking about, you see that dizzy gear down there? Well, the second hole you can see, not the very top one, the second hole, that's where the oil gallery runs through, and it just pours back out of there and straight down. It doesn't travel further through the engine, like it won't keep going through. It'll just bucket down into the sump again. You're not priming anything. So essentially you have to close that gap with a distributor or something mimicking a distributor to get the system to prime. And one of the pitfalls of trying to do that, wind it over with a screwdriver, you'll hear the pressure as you wind the pump, because the pump builds pressure. And if you've got a gauge in here, it'll actually build pressure. So the gauge will tell you you've got pressure too, because it's everything above that where it loses its pressure. Anyhow, and the tool I used to use was, I just got a distributor like this, and I cut it off and just put the drill on the top of the shaft, so you still had this section. But you can actually buy specific tools, ram that in the cordless drill, sink it down. There's your little hoo-ha that grabs your oil pump, and away you go. The oil runs around this section. So that's the next thing. Oil filter on, oil. See if we can prime it. Get that lifter, this one. Get that lifter to wake up. And I'm trying to flood those lifters. Just while that drains. I pulled that oil pressure thingy out too, but I don't hold much faith for it. That's cross-threaded, so I think I'm going to have oil pressure or oil leakage issues here too. So this thing's going to leak like a sieve between me putting on the pan twice, reusing an O-ring on that filter adapter, and then whatever we put in there. But I found a little, that's the correct thread, right? So if it is only that that's damaged, great. And I've just got a little cap. It's not going to build that much pressure that it worries that.
It's not going to build that much pressure that it worries that.
So here's the plan. I'm going to spin it over, wait till I feel oil pressure, and then roll the motor over 90 degrees, do it again, 90 degrees, do it again, 4 times. So essentially the lifters are going to be in a different position each time, and hopefully fill the lifters. Well, I got oil pressure. I got a lot of oil pressure. So much for my little cap and not getting much oil pressure. I've had a lot of trouble with oil this episode, haven't I? It's dripping off the roof. So much for my little cap holding that in. I might have to screw that, where'd that gauge thing go? Well, I guess I'll get that off too. That shocks me a little, but anyway, I'll put a gauge thing in there. I thought that little plug might have held that, but we're obviously talking reasonably good oil pressure. Oh, at no point did I say I was smart. Oh, the good news, we've got oil pressure. Plenty of it. So now I can roll it over. I guess we're going to see. Lucky it wasn't a hole here. Would have done a second pair of shorts in. I can't even find the cap. I don't even know where the cap went. I just chucked a sock over my broom and got the roof. It looks great. So where were we? Turning it over 90 degrees and going again. Look up there. Try not to wear it. Still all over me drill. That's the lifter I'm trying to get happening, and that one too, I suppose. If I can't get them, I'm going to have to pull those rockers and lift those lifters out. So you can actually hear it gained oil pressure there, whereas last time it blasted me. None of those lifters seem to have oil yet. Oh, that lifter's popped up. Look, that lifter's coming up. So it's only that one now. So I've got some pressure into that one. And then I just got to adjust the rocker. Obviously that rocker's been backed off. Go 90 degrees again. He's coming good too. We might have to go around and check all of the rockers because that one's clearly loose. Okay, so I'm just going to do that up until I think I just sunk it again. Yeah, I've sunk him again. This is going to be a bit of a dance. Yes, that's going to be a bit of a dance, isn't it? I might have to adjust that one after. Yeah, because so with no oil pressure, he bleeds down. Oil pressure, and he wants to push up. He'll be fine. So's that one. 90 degrees again. Right, so I'm relatively confident. Oh, see, as soon as I bleed that oil out of them, they want to tap, but that's all right. As soon as I bleed oil in them, hard as a rock. I'm going to go, it's got good oil pressure. Let's just take our next step. I've already got oil leaking. I wonder where that's from. Everywhere. Yeah, it's the oil adapter O-ring. Kind of knew that it'd leak, but anyway. I think I'm going to pull those lifters out because it's all well and good that they're pumping up with oil pressure, but what happens if I switch the motor off? It rattles itself like that, and then next time I start it, we've got a dislodged push rod. That's no good. Same with that one. So I think I better pull them out. That's a good sign that he lifted out that easy. And he's not worn. It's just bleeding down. So I think what's happening with these lifters, and I've just pulled the little circlip out, and if you take the piston out, there should be a little plunger down in there that pops up, and what that does is it retains a little bit of the oil. When you turn the engine off, it retains a bit of the oil in there, but it's not doing that because that is just sinking straight down like that. Whereas all the other guys are holding preload, that one and that one are not. So I think the plunger in the bottom of there, or the plunger spring in the bottom of there, is stuck down. So I'm just going to sit them out for a minute and fill them with degreaser and see if I can't get them to pop up. And I've numbered them just so I know which lobe. That's cylinder 2 and that's cylinder 5. So just so I know which one went where, and I'll just soak them and see if I can get that spring to pop up. I'm at the crossroads. I wasn't going to do as much to start with. I wasn't going to pull the sump and check bearings. We've gone that far. Everything's winding, we've got oil pressure, everything's going fine. So I've got no reason to doubt this thing anymore other than those two lifters. So, and like I say, there's a little plunger in the bottom of the lifter with a little spring under it. Well, it's not popping back up. And so the oil's just pouring back out of it and they're just depressing again. There's no future in that, because if I turn the car off, I could dislodge a push rod next time you fire it up. So I'm at the point where I've got to decide, one, wait for them to pop up. What if they don't? Two, buy a set of lifters. So how about I was going to throw an intake covers distributor and try and fire it the way it is. I think if I've got time up my sleeve, because I've now got to decide, does it need lifters? I think I'm going to knock it off the stand, clean it up, paint it, and pretend that it's mint, and just start putting accessories on. By the end of today, I will have decided, am I getting lifters? If I am, only thing I need left off is a manifold, and I've got all the rest of the stuff done and it painted, so let's do that. I think that's what I'm going to do. So I was just hitching him back up, getting him ready to lift off the stand, and it was eating me up, this lifter scenario, because the peril is, I go and get lifters, I put lifters in it. Are they cheap lifters? Even if you get expensive lifters, sometimes trying to mate an old cam with new lifters does not work. It just adds another dimension of, do I chew up a lifter, destroy a cam, and then you are pulling the thing down, metal through it, right? And so I kept pausing and going back, shaking that lifter, tapping that lifter, degreasing the lifter, and I got one. So I worked them that hard that I rubbed my mark off. So I had to put little dots around him, but look at the crap coming out of that. And if you see there's the plunger. Hang on. See where the plunger is now? Whereas I'll show you the one that hasn't popped up yet. No crap yet, but see how far down that is? Can you see that? How about now? See how far down that plunger is? And then see where that one is? So what's happened is the little spring in the bottom has finally let go. If I poke the bear now, which that's the whole reason it, see, I can depress that into it. So that spring is popping up, so that one's going to be okay. In actual fact, I wonder if I can actually get the piston out and show you what I'm talking about. No. For now, I'm just going to be happy with that, all right? I'm going to soak that one again. Soak them both again, actually. Just see the crap that was coming out of that. That's all that's probably doing it, though, is it's stuck down in all that goop. So I'm pumped. I'm really pumped. So not exactly painting weather, but I'm just controlling my environment with a heat gun, just heating it up as I'm going. And you see I did put a little bit of etch primer on it, not for a necessity, it's just makes it easier to cover, so you're not using as much paint. The less engine enamel or engine paint you put on them, the better, to be honest, because it just peels off if it's too thick. But one thing from today, I'll tell you, I'm absolutely stoked. I got that one lifter free. The other one's still soaking, but I'll show you what I mean. I've actually got one completely apart. That's actually the bit that was stuck down, see there, and if I shake it out, that's the plunger. There's a little check valve in there, in that piece there. There's a little check valve in there. And a spring. And all it was compressed that hard that that check valve was blocked, but it was compressed down. So spring in first, line that check valve back up, if I can. Yeah, so line that check valve back up. And I don't know how well you can see, but down there there's a little hole and there's a ball bearing and a tiny little spring in there that lets the oil down. And back in you go. And now it's working. So that's one. I'll wait for the other one. But mate, I was in the depths of my own head when I thought that was going to be a thing. Trying to break in a new set of lifters on a motor, we've got no idea. I've got half an idea now. I think it's going to be fine, but we still don't know really. Anyway, it's beer time. I'll chuck this back up there. And yeah, so anyhow, one lifter down. A weight off my mind. So it's happy beer time. Not misery and despair waiting for lifters for 2 days type of beer time. In the morning will be fitted up, water pump, starter, if the lifters are good, intake manifold, carby, dizzy, and literally see if we can't start it by tomorrow ish. But for now, I'm just going to sit here, take my time with my paint, just keep warming it, a couple of coats, revel in the success that was fixing one of those lifters, and see you in the morning. I love unmasking, it's like Christmas. Today's going to be one of those days, I think, where we're going to do a lot of running around and feel like I'm getting nowhere, because I'm going to have to go and get plugs is one. I forgot about plugs, but just bolts. There's no way I'm going to have enough bolts because there was no extra bolts in it to just put the water pump on, the alternator bracket on, all of it. Just to get all the accessories on. Just do what we can do. So I don't think there's a process here. It's just chuck it in the frame and start adding shit to it. The lifter and manifold last. So here's where we're up to, and I did pretty well with bolts. Pretty much got everything except water pump pulley. Don't have pulleys. That's a rookie error, but we'll make something work there. And the only other bolts I didn't have is intake manifold bolts or exhaust manifold bolts. Why I say that, they're the same bolt, and I've made myself a little list. I thought it was going to be a lot longer than that. It turned out to be pretty good. I've got to get some black for the headers, and then they can go on, and the way it looks, I'm going to have to cut the ears off those mounts to get those headers on. But we're getting there. It's starting to look like something. So I've got my bolts list, got my parts list, plugs. It feels like we're getting somewhere. Righto, I'll get in town and get these bolts. Got some bolts, got me plugs, got another drill bit because I broke that bolt off. So I've got a little bit of work to do there, but that's the next thing probably to chuck on is the manifold. I'll stick these lifters back together now that I've freed them up. Adjust those rockers, that's what we'll do now. So lifters, adjust those rockers. Putting these lifters together is simple as that. Spring and plunger go in first. Doing plunging things. Then your next little bit where your push rod sits, go in. and then your circlip going in that way. There he goes. We have lifters doing lifting things again. So I'll just back off my rockers so I can get these push rods back in. The slightly somewhat rusty one was that cylinder. No, need to back it off more. The clean one was that cylinder. So I bought myself a fancy drill bit to try and drill this bolt out. We'll see if I can make a meal of this. Geez, I'm even in the center of it. That's amazing. So time to stop. See how that material just changed? That's now aluminium. And it's got quite a deep section, if you can just see there. So you haven't drilled straight through, but I'm definitely through that bolt. And I can now run a die down that and rethread it. A tap, not a die, you know what I meant. I can rethread it. You wonder how gaskets stick so well. When you want them to stick, they leak. When you want to get them off, oh my God, can they stick. Fitting an intake, I can't stress to you enough. Clean your surfaces. Make them like pristine clean. Because if this leaks, it is a pain. These are your gaskets. They're pretty straightforward. They're self-explanatory how they go on. But these little guys, the rubbers, general rule of thumb is throw them in the bin and run a nice thick bead of silicone across there, especially in your corners where they're going to meet these gaskets. Then plop him down and use your torque sequence to torque him down. So just to explain that bit of time lapse there, and it is well past beer time now, is I love doing my YouTube stuff. I love doing anything to do with cars, but I'm also a dad. My daughter came down and said, can she help out with something in the shed today? So we did. So we learned about torque wrenches, torque sequences, how to fit an intake manifold. I'll show you. We've got the intake on, water neck on with a 160 Fahrenheit thermostat, the coolest one we can. We'll just get it running first before we worry about operating temperature or anything. We fitted vacuum port for the brake booster. I'll have to block that off, of course not in the car. We fitted the adapter for the oil pressure gauge. However, I sat the distributor in and the gauge sender is going to hit on the distributor, so I need a T-piece. We got the carburetor, I know, studs in, basically all the fiddly little shit, but it's actually starting to look like an engine. We almost had the headers on. It started raining again outside, so I'm painting them in here and trying to keep them warm with the heat gun, but the bolts I got, they're the only ones I could get, are actually too long. Actually a fraction too long, and that's all I could get, so I've pretty much got to cut 10 mil off them. Although the flange on those headers is quite thick, I've still got to cut 10 mil off them, so I'll do that. We've got to get those other rocket covers off that motor and clean them up, but we're getting there. We're really getting, oh, I haven't even started looking for pulleys. Maybe that's what I'll do tonight. And I am going to keep going a little bit tonight. I'll at least cut these bolts so I can start to get my headers on. What else? Get those covers off that other motor, I suppose, and get them cleaned up. That's probably a big one to seal it up, isn't it? I can't believe I didn't buy pulleys. That was dumb. Rookie dumb. Anyway, still plenty to do. I'll see you in the morning. So get a go at this. I said I was going to pinch these rocker covers. I just knocked all them out. Look, I think they're only a cheap brand of rocker, but winning, I did not know I had a race motor. Yeah, not race motor, but anyway, it's got roller rockers on it. It's good when you have a little win. I didn't expect it. Maybe we'll do that motor next. Righto, a bit of a slow start this morning because I've been in town trying to get fittings for temp gauge, a blank plug for here. Now I've actually given up on this one because my gauge has a specific fitting. I got the thread right, but then that still needs something to butt up against. So I've actually given up, and I've just put I'm using that as a blanking plug. We're not going to have a temp gauge, unfortunately, but we got our oil pressure sorted out. I needed an angle. I think I said a T before. I just needed an angle for that to get away from the distributor. My headers are on. I found some pulleys. I've still got to figure out exactly what we can do when I start throwing them at the motor, because they're just random everything. That's a bottom pulley, and that's all I've got to work with, but surely we can make it work with something here. And I've got two sets of leads, an angle end and straight ends, although that one looks completely shot. But the covers off the other motor, I've cleaned them up to the best of my ability, and I've got a bit of fuel line that we are going to plumb into there and run up here somehow. So all of that today needs to go on here. Exhaust wise, this just wasn't working. I thought this might fit, but it doesn't appear to because of the oil filter. There must have been a shorter oil filter on this, on the car that the headers are off. And this exhaust came off the same car it's going into. So something's changed with this oil filter on this motor. So I think what I'm going to do is just rotate them on the, actually that one will have to go on this side, and I'm just going to rotate it on the flange so it just shoots out like that. Cool as. So that one will go like that, that one will go out like that, and that'll be good enough to fire it. Alright, let's stop talking and get all of that on the floor onto here. We're starting to look like a motor. Probably the first thing I want to do is put the distributor in rather than rocker covers, only for the fact that way we can set it up off watching the intake valve shut on cylinder 1 to make sure we're not 180 degrees out. But this guy, I actually bought this off Marketplace for basically nothing. It was pulled from a boat that apparently had spark issues. Who would have thought? Generally all that fail on these is vacuum canister or coil. Vacuum canister was the culprit on this guy, so I'll swap that out and we'll drop that in. And I like these style of distributors with the built-in coil and that. And I don't mean the cheap equivalent that we get these days. I mean the GM genuine stuff. Well, this is an old school, an A-cell. I've had this on the shelf for a long time. That's actually why I like throwing stuff like this together. This is a shed cleanup for me. Leads, pulleys, distributor. What else did I have laying around? I don't know, heaps of other shit. Anyway, but nothing really goes wrong with them except the coil. They're an easy swap. Or these vacuum canisters. And the way to test them, I guess, is suck on them. That's the new one. If you suck on that end, that lever will actually come forward. That's how it advances. If you suck on that one, you're just going to get stale, putrid air. They're not hard to fit if you've got one that's playing up on you, because your spark will go crazy. It creates a vacuum leak. If it's just sucking air through that, it creates a vacuum leak. So if you're trying to time it, it'll be erratic, it'll be everywhere. But anyway, let's get back into this. Let's stop talking and get into this. I'll get it in. Now that I've praised this old distributor, you watch the grief it causes me. I shouldn't have said that. It's already causing me grief. I can't get the bloody screw in. But I do have a couple laying around, so one way or another we'll get one of these distributors to work. Okay, so we're going to set up roughly top dead center, and if you see, I've cleaned off my amazing paintwork there. This guy looks like it's still a little bit bent, so I'm going to take this with a grain of salt, but it'll be around it somewhere, and then If I need to, I'll adjust it by ear later. But see, that's 0. So that should be top dead center when this timing mark meets that guy. And there's 7 strokes there. So I'm going to say, see that one's a bit longer there? That's the 5th stroke. I'm actually going to say that that's 2 degrees per stroke. You've got A, advanced, and R, retarded. So that's before top dead center, that's after top dead center. So we're going to try and set him up somewhere around that pink mark there, about 10 degrees before. They like to be a little bit advanced, not right on top dead center. But we'll go one step further, and here's how you make sure you're not 180 degrees out. And if you've been here before, you've heard me say it before, so if you know this, go grab another beer while I show everyone else. But find cylinder 1. When the intake valve shuts, the next time you see that, that's when you want your spark. And as I do it, I'll explain. I'll try and go through this to the best of my ability as quick as we can, because I know it's dragging on a bit. But there's 2 complete rotations to complete an engine cycle. Okay, 4 strokes. First stroke, intake piston travels down. Okay, that's when your intake valve, this one, is open, sucks air in. Second stroke is compression, so the piston's coming up. That's when you want your spark, because the next stroke is piston traveling down. That is power stroke, so that's a full rotation and another half. And then coming up again is exhausting. That's when your exhaust valve will open and your dirty, burnt fuel, whatever, comes out, right? So intake going down, compression coming up, power going down, exhaust coming up. So that means 2 rotations of the balancer. And what's meant by 180 is if that's your 0 degrees in your distributor, that's 90, that's 180. So you've got your distributor set up to spark at the wrong rotation in the cycle. Makes sense? Here's how to avoid it. If you can see your valves, when the intake valve is shutting, the next time you see that stroke, that's when you want your spark. First cycle, intake opens. Okay, so I'll get out of your way so you can see, and you're looking for this intake valve. Intake valve, because it lines up here, exhaust, intake. So when it starts traveling down, yeah, I was a long way out. So intake's opening, piston is traveling down, intake is shutting, piston will come up. So the next time we see that stroke is when we want that spark to hit. So now that intake is shut, next time we see our top dead center mark, which is there, that is when we want our bang. So I'm going to set up just before 10, so about 8 degrees advance, and then I'll set my distributor up. Righto, so now setting our distributor up, don't forget, you've got to locate that going to the oil pump. Can't see where it is, so how can I locate it? Got it this time. Righto, so because of the grooves in your gear there, you're going to start with your rotor button. Probably a little bit out to the left. And as it drops in, there, it'll come round. I got that. I could probably come round a little bit further, but that's vaguely pointing at 1. It's actually a little bit off to the left, but I'm going to leave it there. We'll see if... I wonder if our rocker cover is going to hit on that vacuum advance. They come up all right, as long as you don't look there. Oh no, we've got a pretty good range. Alright, so we'll chuck the lid on, find out how close we can get a terminal. Well, it's over here, so it's actually a bit to the left, so we might be pretty much spot on. I'm going to mark him as 1. Come around here, I'll show you what I mean. So what I've decided is that's my number 1. It's roughly pointing this way. It's actually a little bit off that one side, but anyway, don't care. And if I lift the lid, it'll be roughly at that terminal. There you go. I can actually come back a little. So now I'm going to line that line with this rotor button nose, like that, and that is, well, like that, and that is setting up our distributor static timing. So I'll lock that down at that, and that's going to be where we start. So I guess one way to figure out so that you're not 180 degrees out, if your covers are on, you don't want to remove them, take the plug out. Sometimes you can actually see the intake valve. You just got to line up. That one's intake. Obviously your exhaust tube's going to line up with your exhaust valve. Yeah, sometimes you can see the valve, but put your thumb over the plug hole and wind it over, because when it's compressing, both valves are shut. So it's going to try and push your thumb away. It's going to build pressure. But when it's exhausting, the exhaust valve's open. So both cycles, both rotations, the piston is traveling up, but only one you're going to get pressure. Make sense? Because the other one's exhausting. So there's a valve open. It won't pressurize against your thumb. Anyway, made that over complex, didn't I? If you get pressure, it's compressing. If you don't get pressure, it's exhausting. You're exhausting. Righto, static timing set. We can now do covers because we don't need to see the rockers anymore. And we can start running leads. Then we've got to deal with those pulleys. So somewhere now there's a guy that has paused the video and he's gone out in the shed because he's got a motor that just won't fire. And I hope that's right. I hope it helps someone. You'll know pretty quickly if you're 180 out, because as I said, it's on the second time the piston's coming up, it's trying to exhaust gas, but if it hasn't been burnt, your spark is going to be trying to ignite that gas or fuel on its way out the exhaust. So it'll be popping and banging and clanging. If it is, if you're doing that, if you're the guy that's just put on pause, you put on pause too early because you're missing this bit, check your firing order, make sure it's correct, because that will also make it pop and bang and fart. And then just check where your intake valve is. After your intake valve shuts, next time you see that line, bang, spark. Stop talking, Michael. Plugs are in. We can now do firing order, but I'm making a prediction now. If we have a cylinder 1, 2, 3, 4 miss, it's because I just found evidence of cross thread. What that means is they've gone in on an angle with the plug, because when I went to do it with my fingers it went in easy, but I looked at it and it was like that. And so now I've cross-threaded the cross thread back to the original thread, and it looks good, but if it doesn't seal, that's why. Firing order. Google's your friend. I don't need to Google a Chevy. I know that one. 18436572. That one's as simple as crap, but still write it down on something. You've only got to second guess yourself once and you'll cock it up, so write it down. And number 1 cylinder is always the cylinder furthest forward, always. We may as well do how cylinders are numbered too. Chevy is 1, 2, 3, 4, so there's an even bank and an odd bank. Fords are not, right? They're dizzies up the front, it spins the other way. And they're numbered up the banks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like that. So Google that too if you're doing it, but this is 1, 2. So we want 8 next, even sides back here. Are we a short one? I'm actually going to ride on them. And then I'm going to try and pretty them up and hold them all together with that. But I might just go around and just put a texter mark on them, so if we have to have them off, we can go back on really quick. You know, hypothetically, if it shits number 4 on me. So although way too long, they didn't actually work out too bad. They've all come up away from the headers like that. So we'll move on. We've now got carburetor fuel line, pulleys, and then of course we'll start chucking a radiator in it. And I've just put an adapter there because this manifold was a spread bore manifold. Spread bore being smaller butterflies at the front of the carburetor, bigger at the back. But this is a square bore, so they're, you know, same front and back. I'll show you. Show you on a different manifold. So spread bore manifold, smaller at the front, larger at the rear. Square bore manifold. And for you guys that love your carburetors, this is just a little 600 vacuum secondary. This little 327 won't need much more than that. Oh, that's what we were going to do. We were going to measure the valve lift to see if it had an aftermarket cam in it. Damn it, I wanted to do that too. That's one of those things that doesn't let me sleep at night. So I've only got the one option for the bottom because that's a 3-bolt and the top's a 4. So that one I may as well get sorted, but I'm going to have to grind that lip off. I'm not sure exactly what it's off, maybe big block or something, but the balancer must be different. So I'll grind that down, and then I just got to get one. Yeah, that one will work. Is that one hitting on something? No, that one will work as well. So then we've only got to just space the water pump pulley to line up with one of those, which I thought I had 3 options till you get to there and go, well, that's not an option. Where is all this blood coming from? I've got, oh, found it, whatever. I'm looking going, what is all this crap? That's not something you want to hear. Where is all this blood coming from? Never mind. I've gone through a couple of belts and I'm going to try this pulley on it because I've completely given up on the alternator. I'd have to make spaces, I don't have extra bolts and things, so if I can get that back in there first. Doesn't have to be tight, it's just got to turn. How far out am I? About 5 or 6 mils. So if I space that out 5 or 6 mils, we will be perfect. No, we won't. We'll be adequate. That belt will flop around like all craziness, but it'll be right. So don't be overly shocked if we throw that belt when we fire it up, because that's not perfectly lined up. I'm still probably 3 or so mils, maybe a bit more wrong. And of course it's going to have some slack in it, so it'll probably wobble around and chuck itself off, but I'll address that if we have to. I just want to move on. We'll get the radiator in, we'll get some hoses done, and what else have we got? Fuel line and exhaust, that's it. We're nearly there. That is looking absolutely $1 million for what it was. Stop talking, come on, nearly there. Okay, we've hit a hurdle. I started fitting up my hose and thought, hang on, why is that too far away? So I grabbed my radiator. I set these up using the old HK radiator, like a HK Holden radiator I had laying around. Like, what is going on? The other thing is I thought that'd be enough hose. It's not. It's nowhere near it. So I'm going to have to do some sketchy shit. So I think what I'm going to have to do is cut these back off and do some sketchy shit with some hoses, because the hose I bought here, I measured the water pump I had on the other 327, and that I got the right hose. Got them the same length, so we should be right, except look at that. Probably have to come closer. There is no way I'm going to stretch that over that. And if I get a bigger diameter hose there, then it's too big for there, like way too big. So this is some sketchy shit that I've probably cooked up at some stage earlier. I'm probably going to have to do something along those lines. But then again, how am I going to clamp that down? And that one will still be way too big for that. Yeah, that's way too loose. That's the problem. And then I've got the length problem. Oh, and then I've got that width problem. So they've got to come off first. Then I'm going to make some sketchy hoses to get right out to here, and I'm going to put them back wider. I think I might just have enough too if I cut them off there and come out right to the end. Yeah, it should be right. Bit of cutting and mucking around, but time's getting away. But so that was kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back and 1 sideways. But I first of all cut the radiator arms or legs off, whatever. Screwed it to the radiator and then dropped it down and then just welded it in place. I wasn't that concerned about the actual position it or the distance of it. I just thought, wherever it touches the frame, that's where it's getting welded. We then ground this down a little to make it easier to get a hose over it, because it was massive. If I got a hose to go over that, it was way too big for that. So now we've got a bit of pipe on there, a joiner in the middle, and then clamped onto that. So that's going to hold water. I've done the same on this side. Joiner there. Next time, whatever motor I set up in this next, and you will see this frame a couple of times. It'll evolve each time, hopefully, and it'll get better and better and easier. But for now, that's going to do. Next time, longer hoses. I get that. The problem was, or why we went backwards, was when I dropped the radiator down, see, these posts were here. I cut them off, they mounted there, so I just dropped it down. I thought, that's cool, you can see more of the motor. But what I forgot is that I had my fill point lower than the front of the motor, than the thermostat housing. So all I did was unscrewed it for that position there, shifted it up a little and re-drilled. So we now got our fill point above our thermostat or above our top waterline in our motor, so we'll be able to bleed coolant into it better. Right, we're getting close. Exhausts, put my battery back in, wiring, and we're done. Exhausts mastered, and all I've done is, see, that pipe was going to hit on everything here, so I've just clocked it round one bolt anti-clockwise and just poked them out the side here. But the best bit is, and I found these mufflers, so I think I can just wedge those tailpipes straight onto there and come way out. But onto the wiring, and the 2 little fans are the ones that came with that radiator. But I think I can cover a little bit more surface area if I put 1 big fan and 1 little fan, but I'll just figure out how to orient them. I'm actually going to put them on the inside, but to give you an idea what I mean, see what I mean, there's still space. So if I mount that guy right over on the edge like that, I think that's the case. I am going to put them on the other side of the radiator so they're pulling through, but that'll give you the idea of what we're going to do. I'm not 100% sure if I'm a fan of these zip tie type of mounting arrangements or not, but it's not like this one's going to be bouncing around a racetrack, so I think I'll just deal with it. I got the big fan screwed off to the aluminium and just sitting on that lip there to support it. Now we just got to figure out wiring, and we're underway. Okay, all my wiring is roughed in. I haven't put insulation or anything. I've just run the absolute bare minimum just to get everything working up here, because I'm running out of time. As I said, I gave up on my temp gauge. I didn't have the right fitting, so we have no temp gauge. And same with the oil pressure gauge. I haven't got power to it, and so I haven't bothered plumbing it up. I do have my sender, but I'm just running out of time. I've just had to go bare minimum, and we know it's got oil pressure. It hit the roof, so I'll worry about that after. For now, I'm running out of time because I've got to go back to work. So if I don't fire it today, I won't be firing for 4 days. So I just got to get it to fire in case we have a couple little dramas. Let's just go. Let's get it outside. The sun's out, planets are aligning, the sun's actually come out, so let's get it outside. Let's get it done. That's my fuel tank right there, because you want your fuel right next to your spark. Okay? Whatever. I say that, then I nervously put the positive lead on. mint. We've got water. We're going to put a little bit of fuel. I might actually prime that. I think we just try it. Oh, I haven't strapped it down. That'd be a good one, wouldn't it? Strap the frame down, because remember, that's only just sitting there. Not that I think it's going to fly away, but if I happen to give it a blip on the throttle, technically it is solid mounted, so it's going to want to do something. It's going to want to move. Quick test, fans. Starter. Ignition. That was a lot of black. Just try it again. Well, that I didn't expect. Did I say it had oil pressure? It has literally just snapped that. Something's not right with that then. Oh, well, duh. Oh, Jesus. Right. Let's try this again. I'm not having much luck with this. That was a pain in my ass from the start, but that has literally broke that. What do we do now? So of all the things that could have went wrong, that probably wasn't one of the ones I was thinking of. That is dead set to snap the guts clean out of that. Oh, look. Oh. Okay. So that's just plain and simple old and fatigued. So desperate times call for desperate measures, and this is not exactly how I wanted our big block HQ that I call Mucus to come back in an episode. But right now he is donating his very, very fancy looking oil filter and his oil filter adapter, which is up there behind that ridiculously hot header, considering I just drove it in here. I got that filter out, but I'm regretting doing it because I touched that header about 30 times, and guess what it is? No, it's not hot. It is ridiculous. But Mucus will have to come back soon. Look at that. Transmission leak. He didn't want to start properly. He's running a bit shithouse actually, so I'll pill for that, get this one running, and then we might have to bring Mucus back shortly. Isn't it always the way? One of your favourite cars and it gets left to last. But anyway, he'll be back soon. We might do something with this terrible, terrible paint, but that's how he got his name Mucus. Is because of that snotty chest infection type of yellowy green colour. And then of course we stuffed the big block in it. But anyway, he'll be back soon. Alright, so this is getting sketchier by the minute. You see there, it's got a big flat surface there, sorry, there I'm pointing, here. Well, because I pulled that adapter off another 327, I didn't notice the difference, but this adapter works with that block. But this block is different. See, it doesn't have that big flat lip. And when I spin the cartridge on, the seal is in here, not out there. So it's no way in the world it's going to seal. So the only way I'm going to make this work is that's part of the adapter kit off the other one, and that will seal on top of there, and that little seal there, the one I was reusing and was leaking anyway, will seal around there, but that's too big. I've got to hog that out. So now we're getting what was desperate times before is now panic stations. Alright, let's do that. Well, if nothing else, it looks good, but some days just don't go your way. Well, they say some days are diamond, some are stone. Well, that feels like loose, uneven gravel, and I just got dragged over it. I've got other options, like I've got this little guy. It's like a remote filter that, I know, remote filter thingy. Screws onto there, and you need fittings and hoses, and then your remote filter mounts somewhere else, but I don't have fittings. I'd have to make some hoses. So that's not exactly a now thing. That's like a 2 days ago thing, but you wouldn't think I'd need to investigate that when I had it all together. I just didn't expect it to snap in two when it got pressure. Anyway, and I tried to get that guy to fit on over it and then seal the filter up against that, and that section seals on the block, but it won't actually go up high enough to seal on anything. I don't go too bad on my Chevy stuff, but I guess you can't know everything. And what I didn't realize is that area, the filter area, and I had to Google this, from 56 to 67 is one style, and from 67 on is when they're like mucus. Well, mucus's big block is a 69, so hence why he's got the big flat surface for the O-ring of the cartridge to seal on, and this one doesn't. So it's a different style of adapter. It's the adapter, it's that adapter, the one that just self-destructed. So, and I guess in a funny way, we're dead in the water today. Or are we? Wait on. Why don't you just put the original one back on me? I'm going to. Is there a seal in there? That is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm gonna need a torch though. And of course, I washed that filter out thoroughly. Nope. I'll just consider it break-in oil and I'll drop it afterwards. I'm not concerned. I'm probably going to lose more oil. Oh, remind me, top up the oil. Probably going to lose more oil, but we'll see. If this spews everywhere, then I'll admit defeat. Like if it spews everywhere out around that cartridge, because those seals, they're shot. Alright, I'll see if I can lose another metric shit ton of oil. Oh, that's fuel. That just launched the distributor out. We're not going well here. Stripped the distributor hold down bolt. I might have to pull that distributor and re-tap that because that's just lifted straight out. but that has just pulled that thread, that bolt, straight out. Mate, some days are just not your friend. Now I can't even get the vacuum line off. Oh, oh yeah, it does look a little damaged. That thread there. Remember I said about checking with your finger? So it'll be just past. I think I'm going to run out of light today. Don't know if the neighbours are going to appreciate it this late. Maybe I'll just give it one hit. I've just run a die down it just to clean the thread and then a bigger bolt in it. So if I've just set up my timing again, no, I'm a mile out. Righto. See if it wants to do anything now. Except leak oil. We know it's going to do that. It's going to run, but it doesn't sound very happy. That timing doesn't sound right. I can't imagine why the timing wouldn't be right. I just rushed through it in about 8 seconds freaking flat. Ooh, back through the carby. That's not timing, that's sticking valves. Well, of course it is. It's the first time it's ever run. I wonder if those lifters are still pumping up. Don't overthink the popping back through the carby, Michael. It's probably just stuck a valve. Has it though? I should slow down, trust myself, and just have another crack in the morning, shouldn't I? As he goes again. I think I'm going to have to slow down on this one and just have another crack in the morning and just set up the timing again properly. I tend to think that's sticking a valve though, which when you think about it, just because we tarted it up doesn't make it any different than the other engine that's sat for a long time. Sticking a valve or not opening a valve, maybe we're still building lifter pressure. And there's the pink line for where my rotor button is. It's a fraction advanced. It's basically dead on. So I'm going to say timing is not our issue. Firing order is not our issue either. We've got warmth in the headers, so it wants to fire. Yeah, every cylinder, every pipe has got warmth in it. So I think that backfire through the carby is just a valve maybe sticking for the minute, not closing properly. I'll see if we're flooding. No, our floats are pretty good. This is the site of defeat for today anyway. threw everything at me. Can't say I didn't try. Anyway, we'll get a fresh start on it in the morning. I know that time is right now. Fresh start in the morning. 2 minutes later, he's trying to fire it up again. Now, I'm just going to put that back on so that I know it's done and I don't mess up again tomorrow. I just think I've been rushing that much and I'm missing things and starting to cock stuff up. So let's slow down and get it right. See you in the morning. So you know those videos where it goes from complete crap to fantastic and everything ends well? That is not this video. And so we pick up on this one 5 days later after I had to go back to work, and I stewed on it for those 5 days, and what I was coming up with is we've got excessive oil pressure, maybe a stuck oil pump bypass valve which is causing the lifters to pump up and it's holding the valves open, and that's why it won't fire until I'm really giving it some throttle and really trying to get some engine speed in it. The thing that confirmed that was this. So here's the confirmation that we've got way too much oil pressure. That's the sender. It has literally come apart. It's blown that sender apart. And I mean, that's the gauge that came with it. It's got 100 psi on it. I know it's only a cheap gauge, but you think surely it's got to be able to handle 70, 80 psi, but it's come apart, even if it doesn't handle the 100. Never seen that before. All right, so off the drill, what are we getting? Oh, what to do that for? Holy crap. 120 off the drill, and I'm not even really opening the drill throttle. Go again, so you can hear how slow I've got this turning over. Bloody hell. But this is how I know we don't have a blockage or a restriction. See, there's oil in every rocker. That means the push rods are not blocked, the lifters aren't deadheading the pressure. The pressure is actually coming up and it's ending up in the rocker. You'll see that one's still pooling. It'll be draining away. And there's oil in the rocker cover, or in the top of the head trying to drain back. So we know oil's getting up here. So the way I thought I'd try and control the excessive oil pressure is change the weight of the oil, go from like a 2050 down to a 1030, and back off all the rockers. Try to get a controlled oil leak internally by backing off the lifters and creating clearance between the lifters and the push rods. See, hydraulic lifters have got what's called preload, which means you get them to lash and then you generally go down half a turn. Well, I'm going to go off half a turn. See, that's now got a little bit of lash, and I'm going to go off another quarter turn, and that should give me a controlled oil leak. So I'm going to go along and do all that. 3/4 of a turn of pressure off. There's half, quarter, half and a quarter, and these all should have just that little bit of a controlled oil leak. Half, quarter, and so on. Righto, now let's see what we get with our lighter oil and our internal controlled oil leak. Have I got my battery on? Battery is on. Still 140 psi. That's what we're getting. So the plan at that point was start the motor as low in the idle as I can so it doesn't blow that damn filter off again, and just switch it off. Run it, switch it off, just try and slowly build some heat, thin the oil, and hopefully heat that pump so that bypass valve opens. I'm just going to let it run for the tiniest little bit. and just keep getting little bit, get some heat. Hopefully that spring will pop. It says it's holding oil pressure at 45 psi. Just gonna keep letting it do its thing. I don't care if it takes me 40 goes, I'm going to get it. It is off the gauge, literally coming around near zero. I'm just going to keep... Okay, we're starting to get a little heat, a little bit of heat. Come on, a little bit of heat. I'm getting greedy now. $763 more times and we'll get this. Okay, so just watch this gauge. This is with the ignition off. Ready? Does its test. It's holding 50 psi. 130 psi off the starter only. Is it trying to drop back? Why is it not bleeding to zero, people? Tell me that. So I pulled the covers because I just want to make sure we are still getting oil at the top. I know I was when I was winding it over with the drill, but I don't know, something. But watch this. Something's going on. Look, let it do its cycle. Still holding oil pressure, but watch this. Something's letting go, or something's unsticking, shall we say. We're getting there. That's getting some warmth in it. Like, that block's getting warm now. I don't think it's opened the thermostat yet, but I'll give it another go and see what else is going on. But you know what the upside is? It idles. Still holding. I just got to watch my leg on those pipes now. With the rocket covers off, you can hear them chattering, but with the covers on, I couldn't hear them chattering, and I was wondering, should I back them off more? And steady, steady, she'll come back. Just nice and steady. It is now idling at 140 psi, which means it's coming down. I still think that bypass pressure valve is stuck, but I also now think that there's a little restriction in the top end. I'm really starting to see a lot of oil spray now, so something's freeing up. I think I'm just going to let him cool down. Look at the oil there. You see one of the rockers here, look. One of the rockers is spraying oil everywhere, so it might be time to put some covers back on. Let him cool down. We're getting there, is my point. We're getting there. Still a long way to go. We're still up around the 140 psi. I never thought I'd be fighting high oil pressure. I'm amazed that the filter's held on. I think it's starting to settle down. It's settling down, it's still very high, but it's settling down, so we're heading the right direction. I'm taking that as a win. And the birds stopped chirping. I'm taking that as a win. So right now, while these rockers are hot, I'm going to adjust them to 0 lash. Yeah, and then in the morning, fire it up, see if the heat soak from the block has actually changed anything. Has it softened any gunk? Has it loosened that spring? And we'll see what it fires up like cold and go from there. Anyhow, I know this one's dragged on, but no one said it's plain sailing. Cars, huh? I'll see you in the morning. Let's see what it wants to do this morning. It's still saying it's holding 40 psi of oil pressure. It can't be. Oh, the rattling is they're not bolted on. That's the rattling. Probably take them off then, couldn't I? psi just off the starter. off the gauge. And now we're leaking from somewhere. Yep, we're leaking from the oil filter housing, so it's building that much pressure. There's something really, really wrong with this. I think I'm going to back my sender off, and if it squirts out, I'll know that's true. Oh, and there's this one electrician out there that's going, "You've got it wired wrong. You shouldn't have power to the sender." No, I got lazy. It's a ground, it's just red. This could be a glorious fail. It's telling me it's got 80 psi of oil pressure. So, if it's storing oil pressure, then it's worrying me where the oil is not getting to. How is it deadheading? Deadheading meaning, you know, it's building up against something but not getting any further. If this squirts oil out as I release this, this is the second gauge I've tried, I might add. So if this is storing oil pressure, well, it's not storing oil pressure. Alright, so I don't know if I can trust this gauge anymore. That's telling me it's got 80 psi of pressure there. And it's clearly it's got none. Righto, so I'm second guessing everything I'm doing now. The oil gauge sender has failed. There's nothing surprising about that. The first one, it blew apart. The filter's trying to leak again, so it's clearly still building tremendous oil pressure, but it said it was retaining oil pressure. It's not. I took it out. There's no retention of oil pressure, so the sender's failed. I'm not going to get another one. It's destroyed 2 of them. That'll do. But there's something really not right with this. Every time I adjust the rockers down, it won't start. What I mean by adjusting the rockers down, these are hydraulic lifters. They're supposed to run preload. Well, I just put them back to 0 last night. I've now got clearance in them and it's starting. But the minute I try and 0 lash them, it won't run. I've measured every single valve for open and close height, just with a vernier off the side of the engine there, or off the side of the valve seat there, and they're, give or take, they're all roughly the same. They're all lifting around 9.5-ish millimeters. So the cam's not chewed up. The only one thing I will say about the cam is when I had it upside down, the base circle seemed really, really small. And I can't get my head around that. And I've gone back and I'm readjusting the valves with clearance a different way. I've just split the firing order, so it's 18436572. And so when number 1 is in the middle of the rock, as in the exhaust valve is shutting, intake valve is opening, you then go and set number 6 and just cross it off when you've done it. I'm just going back, just second guessing am I riding valve somewhere? But no, they all adjusted. I mean, they all checked out. They've all got lash, and a lot, like a half a turn lash. It's the only way I can get it to fire. I don't know. I'll show you what I mean about my other way of adjusting valves. I've just done number 1, so now we're looking for the middle of the rock on number 5. So 1, 3, 5. So these 2 valves here, and if you watch them, I'll bump it over. The exhaust valve is that one, so when that one's shutting and that one's open, that's called the middle of the rock. See that? That one came up and that one's going down, so that's the middle of the rock. You go back to your firing order, 5, so we adjust 8. Now if we come over here, 8, got clearance. So there's nothing more I can do with that. So that's the only way I can get it to run, with clearance. They shouldn't have clearance, they should have preload, but that's got a good half turn clearance in them. So now we go back, we've just done 8. Next cylinder we're looking for is 7, which is here. So you're watching those two rockers, you'll see that exhaust is already down. So we're waiting for this guy to move. There he goes, that one's moved. So 7, so you adjust 4. With clearance. It is literally just trying to blow that filter off. I keep checking this gauge like it's just going to fix itself. Now it's saying 85 psi residual pressure, so I'd say I've blown the guts out of it completely. Remember at the start of the video I said I'd like to find out why they were pulled? Well, I think I found it. Well, I haven't found it, but I think I know why it was pulled. It's got issues. I got it to run, there's that. But do I feel victorious? No. No, there's a distinct feeling of failure here. Tremendous feeling of failure, actually. We've got incredibly high oil pressure. It's literally trying to blow that filter off again. We've broken filter housings. We've blown 2 oil pressure sender units to pieces. Well, that one hasn't came to pieces, but it's definitely damaged internally now, reading when it's not even connected. And I don't know why. Oil pressure bypass valve in the pump, yeah, maybe, but that doesn't explain these rockers. Every time I go to adjust them down, the thing just won't run. It won't run without clearance. There's got to be a connection there somewhere. That I know, but I just don't know where to join those dots. The only thing I can even cast my mind back to, and no doubt I won't sleep and I'll go back through the footage myself, is the base circle on that camshaft seemed really small. Is that it? Are the lifters too low in the lifter bore? And they're not lining up with the oil passage properly? Is that what we're doing? The oil passage in that lifter bore is quite big. They're not, it's not a pinhole, so they're not blocked. I had oil at rockers, so they can't be blocked. But there doesn't seem to be enough oil at the top end. Yet we've got incredibly high oil pressure. I'm missing something somewhere. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to leave that one with yous. Can you figure that one out? There's something wrong in there somewhere, and I'm going cam and lifters area. Doesn't explain the oil pressure, but maybe it does. Maybe there's the restriction in the lifter gallery. Anyway, there's a lot of indecision in my head right now. I don't feel like that was a success at all. It's running. There's only really one thing left to do, and that's drop these exhausts off, make some noise. This might make me feel better. See if that filter blows off. Does make me feel a little bit better. You watch me hit this rag and just wad it up and flick crap everywhere. It'll happen. There it is. Told ya. It grabbed the edge of the port and dropped down, and that's how you get rid of all the crap. Shake it out and go again. Where is my handle? Where is the handle? Did I just use that one? I probably just used that one. Nope, it's under there. It's right there, you stooge. So, oh, just come out, for God's sake. And then the other plate, wherever it went, where's the other plate? I guess I'll wait for these. Cool. Start all of that again because you stuttered like a freak. And in a funny way, I don't even feel like I've earned this one. But, and if you've been here before, you know exactly what it's going in. It's going in the HK. And the only real positive I can take out of it is, I'm glad I built that stand, because if I'd thrown it in the HK, there would be that distinct feeling of hating on yourself to a level that you can't explain as I pulled it back out to figure out what's going on with it. I will pull that thing down, not all the way, I will check those bearings again, definitely pull that camshaft out, because that's where my vote is. If you think you've got it, tell me in the comments if you think you know what's going on there. I think there's two things going on there. That pressure valve is definitely stuck closed in the pump, otherwise it wouldn't be producing that type of pressure. It'd be bleeding it straight back into the sump. And the second thing is, why can't I adjust those rockers down? The minute I try and adjust those rockers down, it won't even run. And to throw a couple of things at you so you can stew over it the way I'm going to lose sleep over it, I measured the camshaft lift. It's small, really small, but every valve is opening, so the cam's not worn out. And if it was, it would only be missing on those cylinders. If I preloaded it, it doesn't explain why I can't preload those lifters, why it won't run, or why it won't start when I try and preload those lifters. There's something crazy going on there, and my vote, if I had to have a guess at it at this point, I would say that base circle on that cam, I said it was small. I've never seen one like that, didn't think too much of it, but I think it's small. And are the lifters too low in the bore? Are they restricting the oil flow? That still doesn't explain why I can't preload them though. I'm going to leave that one with you. It's a mystery to me. Hit me up in the comments if you think you got it, like I said. I'll see you next time. And thanks for watching, I think. No, thanks for watching. It's just a strange one.